What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Crew 2, and well, as y'all know, it is Wednesday, which means the new summit is now live, and for this week we have the Dominion Series Phase 4, but before we jump into that, let's take a look at the upcoming summits right now and the rewards for doing them. So obviously in the Dominion Series Phase 4, we have the Scorebreaker Boosted, which I've actually been testing out the Rallycross vehicles on many of these slaloms, and they seem to do really good even compared to many of the Rally Raid vehicles. Funnily enough, I actually ended up using one in this summit as well, which you guys will see that. And then in gold, we're going to have the BMW X6, which obviously if you have that, you're probably going to get the money back for that. And by the way, guys, if you might have been wondering, normally when there is a vehicle in gold or something like that, even the platinum vehicles that you might have, you will get the money back for those vehicles if you do have them, which is awesome. Moving over to the Polar Rush is going to have the neon pink tire, which that's going to basically be the same one as the other one that was gold there. Then in gold, we have the Ferrari 812 Superfast, which I do believe that's just giving you parts already on the vehicle so you don't have to pay for them, which is still kind of nice. And then taking a quick look at the summit, I think this one's going to be a lot of fun as well. We do have two Alpha GP races there, then we have a street race, then a drift event. So I think this one's going to be a good time. We'll have an escape there, which normally means an off-road vehicle cannot be used, unless we're talking about the last week's summit there. But moving over to the next one, we have the Wolf Guard. This one's kind of weird though, because I do feel like that rooftop, a lot of players aren't going to care too much for that. But I have to admit, it does look kind of cool and detailed for the most part. Then in gold, we have the legendary half set boosted, which is going to be a Nitro Chemist set for the Rallycross vehicles, which it looks like it's going to have Drifty on there, which I do recommend going after this set, guys. Now, if you guys already have a Nitro Chemist set for the Rallycross vehicles, I would recommend getting this one anyway than trying to experiment with it with putting other fixed stats on there. I'm planning on really testing some of them out to really see if they're even worth using at all. Then moving over to the next summit is going to have the Forsberg Racing Nissan 370Z Dominion Edition. I do believe that's going to be a street car, but I cannot wait to actually try it out. Every vehicle so far in this update has been a blast, and I cannot wait to try that one out as well. Then in gold, we have the yellow Nitro, which kind of self-explanatory there. Then in silver, we have the other part of the legendary half-set boosted for the Rallycross vehicles. But that is basically going to do it for episode 1, which I have to admit, I've been having a really good time with this update so far, and episode 2 is probably going to be just as good. And now moving over to the Dominion Series Phase 4 Summit, which I personally had a really good time with this one. I know last week's Summit was kind of intense. I think this one's going to be a lot more laid back than that. But jumping right into this, guys, so starting off with the Escape here, I think this one's going to be a lot of fun. You could easily get a good score on this one with just using a Rally Raid vehicle on an off-road Escape, which, would make a lot of sense instead of jumping into a hypercar. Now, if you really wanted to, you could fly a plane and then jump into your hypercar and try to fly down the mountain that way. That's the best way to get the highest score. But I feel like that's going to be really frustrating to try to do that, so I didn't even bother. I just jumped into the Rally Raid vehicle, and I still got over 140,000 points, which I think getting 140,000 points on this is going to be plenty in a Rally Raid vehicle, plus it's not going to be nearly as frustrating as it would be trying to jump into a plane, then back into a hypercar, then dodging all the rocks as well. I think that's going to be a bit of a nightmare. But moving over to the next one's going to be a slalom, which for this, guys, I took a different approach. I ended up using a Rallycross vehicle here. Now, my friend did use a street car, which I'm going to end up doing a video on that as well. But funnily enough, you can still get 156,000 points using a Rallycross vehicle. Mind you, I only have about 74.4% on this. I don't have that crazy Rally Raid set on these vehicles, and it doesn't really seem to matter at all in the summits, which I think is awesome. So if you really wanted to, you could run some really weird vehicles on this and still have a really good time. Then moving over, we're going to have an Aerobatics one here, which is honestly pretty straightforward. I did end up running the Zivko Edge once again because this is basically the only plane I use in the Air Race class because I really do love how this thing flies. And then moving over to the first event is going to be a motocross race, which I found this one to be really fun to do, and luckily we do not have to race any drag events, which I think is going to make this a lot more fun. I ran the KTM 450 EXC on this, which technically in this race would make a lot of sense because that is an enduro bike. The Yamaha and the Suzuki are actually motocross bikes, but that's a completely different video. But regardless, guys, on this one, the biggest thing is finding the right routes and trying to get around them the best way, and also watching out for the trees that can definitely pop out of nowhere. And then moving over to the next event is going to be a touring car race, and this is also on one of the Forsberg tracks, and I personally had a really good time with this one. Now, I did end up running the Koenigsegg CCGT, which is probably not the best option, only because the Renault and the Lamborghini Gallardo are probably going to be a little bit quicker in some aspects compared to the CCGT, but I just love driving this car so much because of the way it actually handles. I'm also planning on doing a comparison video from the CCGT and the RS01 just to see how they actually go against each other, and I'm not going to lie, guys, there's definitely some key differences there on why one car might be better than the other. And then moving over to the next event is also going to be on a Forsberg track. This is going to be the Rallycross vehicles. Now for this I ran the Ford Fiesta, which is probably going to be one of my go-to cars I have been running recently. Now the Mitsubishi and the Cadillac are definitely going to be a better option with how they handle, but I have found that the Ford Fiesta is going to be a really fun option. Plus this car does handle really well and has a good overall speed to it, so it can pretty much compete with the Cadillac and the Mitsubishi. And then moving down to the Rally Raid event is going to be one of the US Speed Tour races, and I actually ended up running the Ram 1500 Rebel, which I'm not going to lie, I probably have never used this vehicle on one of the events at all because I normally run it on the skills, but I was like, you know what, let's give this truck a try and really see what it can do. And I'm not going to lie guys, I was pretty impressed with how the Ram really performed overall. Now the only flaw this truck is going to have is the top speed. This thing only does about 170, the Enforcer unit does about 180, and this track is pretty open, so if you guys were to run that truck, you're probably going to end up beating the time on that because it is going to be a little bit faster, but overall the Ram is definitely a lot better than I initially thought. And then moving over to the street race, you do get to drive the lovely Lamborghini Superleggera, which you honestly cannot go wrong with this car in any way. I do love driving this thing, I just personally haven't really used it all that much in recent summits, but using it in a race I can definitely see why this car is going to remain the king in the street class. And then moving over to the other touring car event is actually going to be mixed in with a US Speed Tour race, but this one's actually for the Alpha GP vehicles, and funnily enough the touring cars seem to do a lot better than the Alpha GP vehicles do on this event, which is kind of funny, but I had a really good time running the RS01 because you really cannot go wrong with this car in any way possible. It's just that good, and I'd still really like to see like mixed races in the future. I really do think that'd be really fun to do. Also guys, stay tuned for the CCGT versus the Renault comparison video as well. I can definitely see how one car might be better than the other, but honestly you really cannot go wrong with either one. But if you guys have any questions at all, let me know in the comments below. Here's the summit.